What if I told you just 1 acre of land could produce milk, eggs, vegetables, mushrooms, fruits, honey, electricity, and even tourism income? Most people believe 1 acre is too small to build a successful farm. I designed a farm that completely changed how you think about agriculture. And today, I'm going to show you my dream 1 acre farm design. But here's the most interesting part. This farm doesn't just grow crops. It is designed like a living ecosystem, where animals feed plants, plants feed animals, waste becomes fertilizer, and every corner of land generates income. By the end of this video, you'll see how waste becomes income and problems become opportunities. And before we begin, I want to ask you something. If you had 1 acre of land, what would you build? In my previous video, we discussed how to become a successful farmer. Today, I want to show you something more practical. During the last 7 years of my journey with Discover Agriculture, I learned from successful farmers, agricultural universities, research centers, and agricultural scientists. And I applied all that knowledge into this 1 acre farm design. Even if you have more land, you can apply the same principles. Because successful farmers don't just grow crops, they design systems. And when you start thinking like a businessman instead of a traditional farmer, everything changes. A businessman always asks one question: how can this create multiple income streams? And that is exactly the philosophy behind this farm. Before implementing any farm model, never copy blindly. First, do soil testing. Second, analyze your environment. Third, analyze your market. Your market can be local, national, or international. In this farm design, my focus is mainly local market. Always start small. Test what works in your region, then expand it. My testing is already completed in my region. In your area, you may need small modifications, but the principles remain the same. This farm is exactly 1 acre, which equals 43,560 square feet. The land is square-shaped. Each side is approximately 208 feet. The property also has road access, which is extremely important for transporting farm produce. When most people see 1 acre of land, they imagine just one crop field. But when you start designing systems, 1 acre becomes an entire ecosystem. The entire farm is protected with a compound wall. Alternatively, farmers can use solar fencing or live green fencing. Plants like lime, dragon fruit, pineapple, and apple burr have thorns that protect the farm while also producing fruits. Inside this 1 acre land, I divided the farm into 5 sections, with a farmhouse at the center. Now let's explore the farm. As we enter the farm, we see a strong gate. From the gate, an interlock road leads to the house. Interlock roads allow rainwater to seep into the soil, helping recharge groundwater levels. On both sides of the road, we planted flower gardens. Flowers attract pollinators, which improve crop yield across the farm. In fact, scientists estimate that more than 70% of the world's food crops depend on pollinators. Some flowers, like marigold, repel harmful insects, reducing crop damage. Around the house, we also planted oxygen-producing plants and air-purifying plants. Some plants even release oxygen during the night, helping maintain fresh air around the house. Near the house, we planted 10 coconut trees. Coconut is known as Kalpavriksha, the tree of life, because every part of the tree is useful. A healthy coconut tree can produce 60 to 100 coconuts every year, and many trees live for 60 to 80 years. Around the house, we also kept enough space so vehicles can move easily around the house, which becomes important when transporting produce. Rainwater from the roof is collected using rainwater harvesting systems and stored underground. Around the boundaries, we created a multi-layer farming system. At the top layer, we plant commercial trees like teak, sandalwood, mahogany, silver oak, and bamboo. These trees act like insurance for farmers. Along with them, we grow fruit trees like mango and jackfruit. Tall trees also act as wind barriers. On these trees, we grow climbing crops like black pepper or beetle leaves, which are very valuable. Below them, we grow shade-loving crops like cocoa or water apple. Below that, we place honeybee boxes. A single bee colony can visit millions of flowers in one day, dramatically increasing pollination. Beekeeping also receives government subsidy support. Below that, we grow medicinal plants and grasses. Fallen leaves naturally become compost. This system copies how natural forests work, which is why it can remain productive for decades. Now we enter one of the most interesting sections of the farm. This area is fenced for a free-range chicken farm. The chicken shed is built far from the house because poultry sheds can produce smell when many birds are raised. To reduce smell and maintain hygiene, we spread coco peat on the floor of the chicken shed. Coco peat absorbs moisture and waste, reducing odor significantly. Becomes excellent organic fertilizer, which has strong market demand. You can use it in your own farm as well. Free-range chickens also act as natural pest controllers, eating insects and larvae. Poultry farming is also supported through government subsidy programs. Near this section, we installed government-subsidized solar panels. Solar panels can last 25 years or more. Extra electricity can be sold back to the electricity board, generating additional income. In this area, we planted papaya, moringa, mulberry, and subabul. Fallen fruits and leaves become natural feed for chickens, reducing feed cost, and we can earn small income by selling moringa leaf powder, moringa, papaya, etc. Moringa leaves improve soil by acting as a natural nitrogen-rich organic fertilizer. Subabul is a fast-growing tropical legume tree, highly valued for its nutritious, high-protein fodder. Next to this, we integrated goat farming with fish farming. The goat shed is also built away from the house. We spread coco peat on the goat shed floor. Coco peat absorbs moisture and urine, reducing smell. Later, this coco peat mixed with goat manure becomes valuable organic fertilizer. Part of the goat shed is built above the fish pond. Only a small portion is above the pond to avoid excess ammonia harming the fish. Fish eat goat wastes. The pond also contains azolla, lotus, and ducks. Azolla grows extremely fast and is a high-protein natural feed. Fish eat azolla. Lotus flowers can be sold in markets. We can sell duck eggs and earn some money. Fish pond water fertilizes nearby crops. Both goat farming and fish farming also receive government subsidy support. The next section contains the dairy farm. Local breeds like Gir cows produce valuable A2 milk, which sells at higher price. Dairy farming is also supported through government subsidy programs. Cow dung goes into a biogas plant. Just the dung from 2 or 3 cows can produce enough gas to cook food for a family every day. The slurry from the biogas plant goes into vermicomposting. Earthworms convert organic waste into nutrient-rich fertilizer. In vermicomposting, any biofarm waste can be used, so the farm always stays clean, neat, and beautiful. Both biogas and vermicomposting units also receive government subsidy support. In front of the dairy farm, we grow Napier grass, feeding cows, goats, and chickens. This section also contains an open well. Water is pumped using a solar irrigation system. The farm also uses automated drip irrigation, saving water and energy. Both solar pump system and drip irrigation systems also receive government subsidy support. Now we reach the high profit zone. This section contains a greenhouse which can also receive government subsidy support. Greenhouse farming can increase crop yield 3 to 5 times compared to open farming. Inside the greenhouse, we can grow crops all year. In front of the greenhouse, we built a mushroom farm. Mushrooms are one of the few crops that grow without sunlight, making them ideal for indoor farming. Next, we created a drying area. Nearby, we built cold storage and processing units, which also receive government support. Value addition dramatically increases profit. Now we move to the agritourism section. Farmers often face labor shortages. To solve this, we use woofing. People come to the farm, stay here, learn farming and help with farm work. For them, we built guest houses. Nearby, we built a cafeteria where food is cooked using farm produce and biogas. Kitchen waste can be fed to animals or used in vermicomposting. Visitors can also experience pick-your-own farming, eliminating middlemen. We can sell our value-added products directly to our visitors, tourists, volunteers, etc. In the center, we grow flowers like jasmine, which are very profitable. If enough water is available, rice farming could also be done here. But due to limited water, we selected flower farming. Medicinal plants can also be grown here. Farm manure itself becomes a product. Nature has a simple rule: nothing is wasted. Everything becomes food for something else. Successful farms follow the same principle. Animal waste becomes fertilizer. Kitchen waste becomes feed. Crop waste becomes compost. This is how a farm becomes self-sustainable. Imagine waking up every morning in a place like this, breathing fresh air, eating food grown by your own hands, and building a future for your family. Multiple income streams, financial security, and a peaceful life. In this 1-acre farm, we used every inch of land productively. By intelligently using government schemes for beekeeping, poultry farming, goat farming, dairy farming, fish farming, greenhouse farming, biogas systems, and vermicomposting, the investment becomes much more achievable because of using government subsidies. And remember, this is just 1 acre. If you have more land, you can expand the same principles. Now I want to ask you again. If you had 1 acre of land, what would you build? Tell me in the comments. And I'll see you in the next video.